Hi everyone, this is Wendy Layne, and today I'm going to be working with the 111th anniversary set of Polychromos color pencils by Faber-Castell. The sets come in a metal case just like the original pencils from 1908, and they have also kept the historic original stamp on the cover of the tin to reflect the original pencils as well. They come in various size sets. They come in a short mini pencil set of 12. Those pencils have not been sharpened. And then they come in a set of 12 longer regular size Polychromos pencils that are pre-sharpened, as well as a set of 24 and 36 that are also pre-sharpened. And inside the cases, you'll also find a reference color chart. It shows you what the actual color names are for each numbered pencil because the color names are different from the modern Polychromos pencils. So my reference photo today is going to be that of this rooster. This is a photo that I took when I was in Washington State. I'm not going for hyper-realistic with this piece. I'm actually going to try to capture a more old-fashioned look since we are working with 111th anniversary pencils. I'm working on a piece of white Stonehenge paper by Legion paper, and I have a light sketch in a gray pencil of the rooster, an outline, and I'm starting with a carmine pencil. And I start by outlining the comb on the top of the rooster's head, and then I use oval strokes from the lower left-hand corner of my paper to the upper right-hand corner of my paper. The first strokes are very light. The first layer of pencil on my paper are very light touch. I'm going to speed it up because this is going to be easier to explain by looking at it as a time lapse. You'll see that while each layer is very light, when I get to an area where I know it's going to be darker, I press just a little bit harder, and you'll see that come to life here in just a minute. This sort of creates an underlying value map. So when I'm done with this first layer of pencil, you'll see these darker lines start to show up. These are showing me where the shadows or the darker tones in the rooster's head and comb need to be. So then when I start going over the second layer, you can still see the lines underneath that are the darker areas where I laid down where the shadows were going to be. So then when this layer is done, I'll use the bluish purple to go back over those lines to start to build up the shadow. For this drawing, I'm using a limited palette of only 24 colors. If I were working on a hyper-realistic piece, I would be using a lot more colors, even in this little area of the rooster's comb. Then, looking closely at my reference photo, I used the Parisian blue, the Van Dyke brown, and black to create the eye, and a touch of white to brighten it up. And then I used the black to deepen the shadows in the comb. The beak is created by blending light gray, zinc yellow, ultramarine, and black. Zinc yellow was also used as a base coat for the rooster's feathers, with gray and ultramarine creating the shadows, and light burnt ochre and golden ochre for the darker feathers, and then sepia to create a darker contrast. The best way to determine which colors you should use is by looking closely at your reference photo. It's a good idea to hold a pencil in front of your reference photo one color at a time and see if you find that color in your photo. When you're working with a limited palette, it may be necessary to mix 2 or more colors together in order to get the color you need. While today I'm limiting myself to the anniversary set of Polychromos pencils, there's no reason why you can't mix these pencils with the full line of 120 Polychromos pencils by Faber-Castell. If you notice, I'm using my iPad to look at my reference photo. This is helpful so that I can zoom into areas and get a closer look. It's much harder to work with a printed reference, especially when you're relying on your printer to capture the accurate colors. For the rest of this video, I'm going to significantly speed up the time lapse. This drawing took approximately 24 hours to draw. The best tip I can give you for copying from a reference photo is to slow down. Look very closely at your photo, at all the details. If you're not looking at your reference photo every 1 to 2 seconds, you're probably not drawing what you see. You're probably drawing what you think you see. Most of my students stress the most about what color to use, but when you're drawing realism, the very most important thing is proportion. After that is value, and last is color. Because I'm drawing on white paper and my rooster is a very light color, I opted to draw the background. Drawing wood grain and straw can take a long time, but it's also very forgiving. No one will ever know if a line or a knot is out of place in your wood grain, or if the straw is not exactly accurate. Since I'm right-handed, I started in the upper left-hand corner, working my way across to the right from the top down. This ensures that I don't smear the pencil as I work. However, I always have a piece of glassine paper under my hand to keep the oils from my skin off of the paper and to keep from smearing my pencils. Another tip is to use the white pencil as a last layer to help soften some of the areas of the background, especially if you're trying to achieve a somewhat blurry look. And speaking of blurry, the last few clips of my video were quite blurry, so I'm going to skip ahead to the finished product. And this is my finished drawing of the Regal Rooster using the Faber-Castell 111th anniversary set of Polychromos color pencils. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more demonstration videos using Faber-Castell products.